Star Wars 7 by 7 episode 2372. Today I'm continuing my series of looks back at 2020 and looks ahead at 2021. Today we're going to be talking about the animation side of Star Wars storytelling. Punch it! Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7 by 7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So, the animation side of Lucasfilm, of Star Wars storytelling, we had a big event in 2020, and we're going to have another big one in 2021. The big event in 2020, of course, was the debut and run of the final season of the Clone Wars, and for a long time, Dave Filoni talked about not getting to finish Clone Wars the way that he wanted to finish it. And even back in the Star Wars Celebration where they debuted season 4 of Rebels, even at that panel, he was talking about how he was thrilled to have the opportunity to end Rebels the way that he wanted to end it because he hadn't gotten that opportunity with the Clone Wars. Well, finally he did get that opportunity with season 7 of the Clone Wars, which ran for 12 episodes on Disney Plus back in February, March, April, and May of this year. And the 3 story arcs out of all the unproduced story arcs that still existed for the Clone Wars, the 3 that we got were for the Bad Batch, for Ahsoka's walkabout, that of course being her time right after leaving the Jedi Order, and then the Siege of Mandalore, which was probably the most highly anticipated story arc of all 3. And probably out of any story arc they could have done, I would say that was the most highly anticipated one. I remember hearing about that originally back in 2016 when it was discussed in the Ahsoka's Untold Tales panel at Star Wars Celebration London. So yeah, to see that finally come to fruition after 4 years of that was really amazing. So the Bad Batch, I know we had conversations on the show about why certain story arcs may or may not have been picked and speculation on what ones were going to get picked. I think it's fair to say at this point that maybe one of the reasons why the Bad Batch story arc was picked was because they had a Bad Batch animated series in the works for Disney Plus, which was announced in, I believe it was July of 2020, and we got a little bit more about it at the Disney Investor Day. In fact, here is Kathleen Kennedy talking about the Bad Batch series at the Disney Investor Day presentation.
Building on the legacy of the Clone Wars, our new animated series, The Bad Batch, follows the Specialist Commandos of Clone Force 99 as they embark on new missions in a rapidly changing galaxy.
There you go. That was Kathleen Kennedy at the Disney Investor Day presentation. And they did show the video for the Bad Batch to the general public as opposed to the stuff that they only showed to actual investors and stockholders. That, of course, is available on YouTube, and I'll link to it at the blog post for the show's episode at sw7x7.com. In that reel, it is very much a sizzle reel. It's a teaser, and we see a lot of the Bad Batch's shuttle arriving at one planet or another. That happens, I think, like half a dozen times or something like that. There's flyover footage and whatnot. But there's also, planetary appearances. So we get to see Kamino. It looks like the Bad Batch is going back there at some point. We also get to see a planet that looks a bit like Felucia. And we also get to see a planet that looks like Braca, which is the scrapyard planet where we find Cal Kestis at an early part of the Jedi Fallen Order video game. We're also going to see Coruscant in the show, and it looks like the members of the Bad Batch are actually on Coruscant when Order 66 gets flipped and Palpatine makes his announcement about reorganizing the Republic into the First Galactic Empire. So, of course, that raises the question of how did the Bad Batch deal with Order 66? Did they have chips in them, or because of their unusual abilities, were there no chips in them, or did something happen to the chips because of their favorable mutations or some other scenario? It's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. The sizzle reel also revealed that we're going to get to see Fennec Shand in this series, the character played by Ming-Na Wen in The Mandalorian, and she is very excited to be reprising the role for animation as well. For StarWars.com, she did an interview and she talked about how at this period of time in the Bad Batch series, she is cutting her teeth as a bounty hunter, Fennec Shand is, and so she's more reckless because she is acting without thought of consequences, which obviously a more seasoned Fennec Shand might be considering, as we see her in The Mandalorian. There's one other interesting and intriguing moment in this sizzle reel to talk about, and that is a moment with Tarkin showing up. Will of Tarkin shows up talking to Hunter, addressing him and possibly other members of the Bad Batch as well, though it's only Hunter that we get to see in this particular quick glimpse. And it does make you wonder whether Tarkin is working with the Bad Batch before or after the fall of the Republic. After the fall, they are working as mercenaries, trying to keep themselves afloat. But you would imagine that if Order 66 didn't, put them under the sway of the Empire, that they would be persona non grata and that the Empire would be trying to kill them. So I have a feeling that this might be something that happens before the implementation of Order 66. And so we are probably going to get to see that. I'm sure this has been confirmed somewhere and I'm just forgetting, but I would be willing to bet that we're going to see Order 66 from another perspective and see exactly how it affects the Bad Batch and what they do to get away and build their new lives, or start to build their new lives. And that is almost everything I have about the Bad Batch, except for the one thing that I also don't have, which I'll explain in a second. I do just want to say thank you to Brad Comer, Jack Tway, and Tom Gilliu, all three of whom became patrons this week of Star Wars 7x7 and are helping to support me in bringing this daily dose of Star Wars joy to you. I'm so grateful. Jack, Brad, Tom, thank you so very much for believing in me, for the vote of confidence, and for supporting me delivering this to folks going into 2021 and beyond. And yes, we're actually going to hit 2,500 episodes in 2021, which is stunning and ridiculous and a whole other story. But, we've still got a couple hundred episodes to get to before that. So let me not get ahead of myself and just simply say thank you, Brad. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jack. And if you would like to support this endeavor to bring a daily dose of Star Wars joy to people around the world, it's been downloaded in more than 160 countries so far, then please check out patreon.com/SW7X7. Again, that's patreon.com/SW7X7 to get behind this crazy effort. And so the last thing to talk about, the thing that we still don't know, is a release date. We still don't know when this is going to be coming out. And the thing about this that is also kind of fascinating is how they're going to start playing with Marvel, because Marvel is starting to have their stuff come out on Disney Plus as well. WandaVision is supposed to be coming on January 15th. I don't think, I will say that I have no idea how many episodes there are because I have not looked into the Marvel side of things, but I'm wondering how they are going to approach their release schedule once Marvel releases get involved into things, because they still have Falcon and the Winter Soldier in progress. They have Loki also, so it's going to be really interesting to see how all of this shakes out. I'm kind of a mind thinking that they are going to give some separation between Marvel and Star Wars series when they come out. So, for example, they wouldn't suddenly say, oh, Bad Batch will drop on the 22nd of January if WandaVision's dropping on the 15th. I think they would probably give it a little more space. So I would be surprised to see the Bad Batch debut, any sooner than March, but yeah, well, hopefully we will get to find out a little more and a lot sooner about it. For now, though, that is going to do it for this episode of the show. The look back at the animation situation for 2020 and what's coming in 2021. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
Star Wars 7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2020 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.